What's going on, man?
Man, nothing. What's up, brother?
Man, not a whole lot. Just getting on, getting down, doing all that bull mess.
Thank you, man. Wearing that fantastic T-shirt and ball cap
Thank you.
combination.
That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, yes, sir.
Man, as some sad news came down this past week. It was one of those kind of things you see come across the Facebook or whatever you're looking at that is like, man, that's got to be true, but that sucks. That's true. But Norma McDonald passed away.
Yeah, man, that was. I heard about that on the Sports Talk because they were just talking about, and I totally missed it. They were just in the middle of the conversation. Yeah, man, he had been fighting cancer for 9 years and didn't tell anybody, and nobody knew. SNL veteran, legend, la di da, and then the conversation veers off into, yo, yeah, what are your favorite skits ever? They never, and I'm sure it's not that they never mentioned it. It's just I missed it. So I'm like, man, who are they talking about? So I had to come home after that and Google it because they were already past the part of them who they were naming. So I'm like, well, that sucks, man. But
there was a great a grace in that, because I mean, to and I, just like most everybody had no clue
yeah,
he was going through that. And there are definitely some comedians that are actors period, that are just like the, nah, I'm gonna keep something for myself.
yeah,
And I really think there's a grace in that. Then there are some people that make that totally part of their act or their story or whatever it is, and that's just as endearing. But then at the same time, there are all those people that just take that as an excuse to do my farewell Earth tour. So, but it was just kind of cool that he's like, nah, man, I'm just gonna deal with this on my own.
Yeah, I agree. Anytime anybody does anything in an individual, I'll give you an example. You have like Norm Macdonald, which the only thing about that was frustrating is having people talk about, man, it's unprecedented. Wow, this is so unusual. A celebrity battling cancer, battling a terminal illness, and not telling anybody. Wow, how refreshing. And I'm like, God damn, y'all forgot about Chad real quick, didn't you?
Pretty quick.
But my other thing that is you have like Norm Macdonald who didn't want to talk about it, Chadwick Boseman who didn't want to talk about it, and didn't want other people talking about it either. Then you have the Tig Notaro album, which it looks like it's called Live, but once you listen to it, you realize it's called Live, and it's like, how whatever you're moved to do, man, whatever you sincerely think you're supposed to do with your moments, it's awesome, and it could be the totally opposite thing from completely different people, and you can get, as the individual you are, as the person that we are, you can get totally moved and blown away in the same way for the complete opposite reason. And it's just neat when folks really sincerely do whatever they want to. I'm with you. I love that stuff because it's like, man, I love that Tig did that. And then, like you're talking about with Norm Macdonald, I mean, that's what Norm wanted to do. I'm glad he did that. It's great.
Yeah. So, man, that she did come across my mind when I was thinking about how, well, everybody handles it their own way. And somebody like Tig can still address it and let you know what's going on. And it's just as funny as she's ever been.
Oh man, it's great. It's really fantastic, and that album is unbelievable, man. I mean, it's like, as long as, I don't know, it's just there's that it's there's the little snippet, the very famous snippet right in the middle of that show where she's like, man, I can change the subject, man. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to come out here and do this. We can talk about other things. And the whole crowd, of course, is the chorus of like, no, no. And at the end, you have that one guy who's like, this is fucking amazing. And then everybody is just like, I'm glad you said it, man. That it's just, it's such a good album. It's weird. I didn't mean to get off on that, but it's just a good example of what you're talking about.
But there are those cases where it feels like there's certain celebrities or whoever it is that goes out and they do their little tour, like Tears of a Cloud, feel sorry for me. So and neither one of them did that. I'm not accusing either one of them of doing that.
Are you still mad at Phil Collins' frail ass for coming out and doing it? You're still mad at Phil Collins when you saw him live? I'm kidding, man.
I'm getting over it.
I understand. But I would understand if you were still little about it. Obviously, I didn't go to the show, and I'm still like, you're good.
I feel bad, you know.
You started the show with Against All Odds, Phil. Damn.
Yeah.
Are you okay, brother? I do like that being the opening the opening song of the show. It's hilarious to us for the exact same reason. Like,
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
Goodness, the studio to me first. Good Lord.
Ease into it, bruh.
Seriously, man. It just comes out and does a Rip Snorton version of Against All Odds or by Atlanta.
Yeah. You saw me.
You got your 5 minutes and 40 seconds. Bye.
Fuck you, at least I'm dying.
He turns into Janice.
That's what started the conversation with. I guess a lot of people my age, our age, when you say Norm, it's hard not to think of Weekend Update to begin with. But man, he's had a ton of good stand up. When I saw him on Weekend Update, I remembered him from like there was some special that he was on that just but he continued doing stand up for a good while, and just I think that's and everybody. If you don't like dirty work, then we're probably not going to have much in common as far as sense of humor. So I just it was one of those kind of there aren't many celebrity deaths I can think of that really are kind of like, oh man, that was definitely one of them that I felt kind of like, oh man, that sucks.
I think I have a couple of I guess my SNL memories for Norm Macdonald. You're of course right that I hate to admit it, but there are two things from Weekend Update that I really remember about Norm Macdonald. One of them, in my opinion, and I pick on this guy all the time for this, but it's because it's true. One of them is Lorne Michaels getting his little sensitivity undies right up his ass like he always does, especially with Sinead, which is yes why I hate that guy, because I love her and she was right, and fuck his overly sensitive piss baby ass, because he's not upset or offended. What he's mad about is that I have a check for the Beatles. I want the Beatles to come and do a show on my show. Here's a check. You can give Ringo less. He wanted that to be the greatest moment in the history of his fucking show. And then anytime anybody deviates from what he thinks it should be, he gets mad about it. But you want to be Little Mr. Dangerous and have Saturday Night Live. But Sinead O'Connor comes out and rips up a picture of the Pope, and you shit your pants because you want to be Little Mr. Dangerous, but you are owned by the National Broadcasting Corporation, so fuck you. Yeah. Anyhow, Norm got him on one of those too. And it was the beginning of one of the Weekend Updates, and it was the crescendo because, Norm had the desk during the OJ trial and had endless OJ jokes. And it's the famous one, and it's making the rounds now. But as soon as the verdict came down, they began Weekend Update with that little picture of smug-ass OJ with the look on his face. And Norm begins the broadcast with, well, now it's finally official. Murder is legal in the state of California. And Lorne Michaels shit his pants on that line because people lost their bananas. Norm couldn't have given a shit. You knew it was great. That's the first one I think of. And the other one, unfortunately, that I think of really doesn't have anything to do with him because it was after Colin, Quinn took over for him. And it was when Harry Carey, hey Norm. The other thing that I always think of is him still calling him Norm.
I think Colin's reaction to that's pretty good. It's like
it's the great. It's like you had to. It's so great, man. I guess my first memory of Norm Macdonald. I don't remember if he was on an episode of Roseanne, but he wrote a bunch of them. He was on the staff of that show. But I think the first thing...
That reminds me of another... I'm sorry.
No, you're good, man.
No, it's talking about Roseanne. It just reminded me of another story that was kind of crappy towards the end. But
we'll get there. I promise I'm not going to I'll just tell you the story real quick, and I might even be wrong. It might not even be him, but I'm pretty sure the first thing I ever saw Norma McDonald do was his stand-up joke about using "the devil made me do it" as a defense in court.
Oh yeah.
It's so awesome. He's talking about people. You go and say, "Well, the devil made me do it." It's like the devil pops up in your room, and he's "Hey, you need to kill your family." I'm like, "Okay." So he goes over to the next room and kills his family. He comes back a few minutes later, and the devil's sitting there, and he pulls a rubber mask off, and he says, "It's me, Bob." Oh, Bob. It's just so stupid, but I just love the idea. The devil pulls his mask off, and Bob made you kill your family. It's stupid, but it was hilarious.
And I remember the early Norm stand-up bit that always stuck out in my mind is why, even as a kid seeing it, I got it. He was talking about the nerdy ass guys on the dating game show, and he's like, these questions that these guys ask these girls. It's like, what do they do? It's like, Bachelorette number one. No, it was the girl asking the question to these terrible guys. Like, that's Bachelor number one. If I was a popsicle, what would you do to me? Well, first I'd take your wrapper off. You know what I mean? Grab you by your sticks. You know what I mean? Yeah. Push into the counter, you broken too. Put you in the freezer for later.
I totally forgotten about that, but that was awesome. Fresh up the counter till you broke it too.
Man, but another SNL crappy person connection was it was Norm's friendship with Roseanne and him writing on the show, his first major gig, and it was when she was having her issues a couple of years back, where all the brother did was go on Twitter and say, "I legit believe that she did not know that lady was black." That was it. Just trying to defend, or not necessarily defend his friend, but make a case that, like, maybe this isn't what everybody thinks it is. And that very night, he was to be on Jimmy Fallon's show, and some woke snowflake producer is offended. We can't have him on the show, so Jimmy Fallon caves. And
Jimmy Fallon appeased the 23-year-old hotsy that he's sticking it to is what he did, because Fallon is a piece of shit. And as far as, oh man, people are so offended by Roseanne, wait till she's back on that show. She'll be back on that show in a year, and everyone will be applauding and celebrating because the strong woman won, and all the people that were so goddamn offended that she got fired will have shit to say.
Yeah.
As I've said, cancel culture is all about corporate. People don't believe you when you say that. It's the leftists and the snowflakes that are obsessed with cancel culture. No, it's about corporations wanting to renegotiate your fucking deal, because as soon as you make less money, you're welcome back with open arms, because they control the freaking media too. Come on back. So when Rosie's willing to knock a zero off her price tag, she will have her triumphant return to the show. No, they killed her character. Yeah, they killed Dan's ass too, and they brought him back, didn't they?
Yeah.
I hate shit like that, because it's just frustrating to me that people don't see it that way. I mean, the loudest, screechiest, whiniest, complainiest people are right-wingers who don't like whiny, complainy, fussy snowflakes. It's like, Jesus Christ, y'all, just stop doing the act. Damn.
Yeah.
But Fallon is a piece of shit, and he's a coward, and he didn't fucking cave to cancel culture. He caved because his 22-year-old producer, Totsy, that he was putting it to, is like, I don't want him on the show, Jimmy. Yeah, okay, sure, he can't be on the show. Give me a drink, because he's, what a piece of shit. I hate that guy. God.
So,
and you'll see it'll all come out. Wait and see. Whenever NBC or ABC or he's on, oh God, of course he's on NBC. He's Lauren's boy. As soon as his contract is up, wait till you find out. Wait till Twitter finds out what Jimmy Fallon is actually like, because he's a piece of fucking shit. And they'll talk mad shit about him. They'll renegotiate his contract into oblivion, and he'll be welcome back. And no one's going to give a shit because nobody cares anyway, but NBC will treat it like it's a big freaking deal. I hate shit like that, man. It's fucking boring and stupid. Hate it.
yes. Yeah. If you want a good Norma McDonald watch, I'll suggest, if you haven't seen I think it's fair to call it cult classic. If you haven't seen Dirty Work, by all means, go out of your way. I don't think it's terribly hard to find. I'm sure it's streaming on something. If you're old and still have DVDs like me, then you got that going for you.
Go to my shelf and knock it out anytime I want to.
Yeah. So, man, he did that, and it wasn't the first time I saw Artie Lang, but it's him and Artie hanging out together, and I think it got them tight. So that Artie had a pretty cool little, he very rarely puts anything out in his podcast feed, but this past week he had I got to talk about my friend Norm, so that was a cool short little message that he put out on that. So that was cool.
That is
and,
cool, for real.
I want to say it's called Screwed. It's a movie that he did not long after Dirty Work, and it's him and Chappelle, and it's very similar. Not much of the movie stands out in my mind. I just remember them being funny together. So that's another good one to go check out if you're in.
That was a good one.
That's a good one. If you're so inclined, go check that one out. I think Dirty Work's better, but Screwed's a pretty good one to go check out too.
I can dig it, man. That's cool. I can't remember what else my Norm thing was, but I'm just with you. It's like Jeopardy, of course, because who doesn't love Jeopardy? Jeopardy's awesome. Turd Ferguson. And one of my favorite ones with Bert, man, I don't remember. It seems like it was when Will came back to host, because it was way after the fact. It was way, way later. And of course, it seemed like it was when Will came back to host. And Hammond came back, which is, of course, awesome. And Norm wasn't out there. It's the one where they're going through and playing the game, and just right in the middle of the game, there's a fourth little contestant spot, and it's Burt Reynolds, and it's like, that's freaking awesome, man, because it was just good to see him. It's during I know I've complained about it before, and I do hate the cameo-laden era I hate the cameos of the cameo-laden era, but it was just with them talking about, like, what's your favorite SNL skit? And it was just this Will Ferrell thing, and I love Will. I'm not trying to diss him. It's just that you can tell how old somebody is by the stuff they talk about as the best SNL stuff. That's okay. But there is, I really don't like the over-reliance of bringing people back. And I don't mean as host. I mean just guest spots and Hollywood people. Matt Damon playing, what's-his-face, Brett Kavanaugh, for example, which I love. That was hilarious. But that's just a good example of what we're talking about. The cold open, you got to have some celebrity. It's just a little frustrating because they just do it way too often, even when sometimes it's really good like that one. But there's a lot of crap. It was just, man, what's your favorite SNL skit? And I swear the first things that came to my mind, I'm like, it surprised me how many of them are so recent. And it's like, damn, even I don't give the current cast their due. It just made me feel bad, like, because I would never consider, the current crop is fantastic. But they clearly, when I sit and think about things I really like, man, they are. Because the first thing I thought of was Abraham Parnassus. The second thing I thought of was the Mad Scientist convention.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting. It just seems to me that the writing now, the skits that really stick are the ones that are really, really good for the host. It's weird to say that, but it's true. And I hate saying that because I don't mean to sound like I'm dissing the cast, because the cast is incredible. I know we've talked about it before, man, that I think Kate McKinnon's the most famous one, and there's nothing wrong with that because she's unbelievable. For Pete's sake, man, her name just popped out. Cecily Strong is the best one. It's shocking how good she is. And then the genius curveball is Melissa Villaseñor. And that's just the ladies, man. Some of the dudes on that show are awesome too. So it's like, man, I really should give them more love. But the stuff that popped in my head was more based off the host, like Adam Driver, The Rock, and just. But yeah, Mad Scientist. It's like I would not know, and it's basically the way, because you turned me on to that. I never saw it. It's like, man, you gotta check this out. And I appreciate you telling me that I needed to watch this, and that was it. That was it, man. Not that, oh, it's The Rock and it's awesome, or oh, it's Mad Scientist and blah blah. Nothing. No concept at all about what was going to happen, and then ultimately what was going to happen, and then what the skit really is. So it's why I try and say Mad Scientist Award as opposed to the other thing I used to call it, because if I call it that, it ruins it. It's like, no, leave that for the people to go find out.
Yeah, because you get to the end, it's like, what the heck? What the heck?
We know what evil is. Oh, well, clearly you don't.
Yes. So, do I win?
That's easily my favorite line of that entire thing. I love whenever he first explains his invention. You can pop me more in a hand. I love him anyway. Bobby's got that one spot where he does his cool little evil guy laugh, which is awesome. But him, like, it's like shifty thing, but like everybody else heard that, right?
Yeah.
Do I win the contest?
Yep. And when you say Kate McKinnon, and they've done this one a few times now, but as still the first time they did it was, I think it was called Alien Abduction, or something along those lines. But man, just breaking everybody up.
That's the thing that's fascinating about those, is that I think it shows off two things. One is how hilarious Kate McKinnon is. Two, Eddie Bryant is really underrated and does not crack often. So when she does, it means something. And Cecily Strong, who never fucking cracks for nothing ever, including that. And it's like, I mean, she's in all of them. Both of them are in all of those. And it's like, no matter what Kate does, I think that's because the whole thing, oh man, Kate McKinnon just grinds her crotch into the celebrity's face to get attention. She's trying to make Cecily laugh because nobody can. It's incredible. I swear that's got to be what she's doing. It has to be her motivation for just the weirdest shit you can come up with. Eddie Bryant's pretty strong. She doesn't crack up very often, but she always laughs during that one. So I'm like, okay, I got 80. Now I got to get you. It's like, damn it, come on.
I'm going to make it happen.
But it makes me think of Lovers, which I understand making Jimmy Fallon laugh is the easiest thing in the world. But like we've talked about before, man, the stuff that he's in where everybody's laughing, it's nowhere near as annoying. It's when he's faking the shit that I don't like. Like the Prospector Pete or whatever it is, where they're going to send Will Ferrell, the gold prospector, out with him. I want to kill him in that skit because it is so phony. It's off. If you've ever seen the 30 Rock episode where Tracy decides, I'm going to break character because people love that one skit for Fallon, that is what they are lampooning in that episode because it's so fake. But Lovers, you ain't even mad at him because Drew laughs. It's just so awesome. Drew laughs at darn near everything. Jimmy laughs at everything. Rachel Dratch does really good up to a point. And it's whenever Will does in the distance we heard native drums. And when he hits that line, you can hear from like the back of her brain, you can hear her just stifling a laugh. But this slight little, it's not even a wheeze, she just exhales it. And when you hear it, that's when Will loses it. It's like we're all off the rails here, man. But whenever she laughs, Will cannot get through his next line, which is so stupid. It's not even that funny, but it's hilarious. Wasn't it our minds? We don't know. It's so stupid, but I love that skit because all of them have such a good time. And another one I hate to sound like I'm defending Fallon because I hate that guy, but I always get, whenever I trash Fallon for laughing, it's oh man, you like Bill Hader, and I do love Bill Hader, but it's different. It's totally different because the reason, hey, well man, he's never gotten through a Stefan. Yeah, that's John Mulaney's fault, and so it's leave him alone.
But nobody would.
It's true. But like alongside Lovers, like Debbie Downer at Disney World, man, Fallon laughing during that, man, you go right ahead, brother, because any of the rest of us would. And if you've seen that skit, everybody does. But let me say, Horatio Sands is shooting tears out of his eyes by the time that thing is over. And he's another one that's really good to not break, man. But it's like, Horatio's laughing. It is completely okay for you, Jimmy Fallon, to laugh too. You go right ahead, man. It's okay. Yeah. His Debbie Downer's the great. It's the greatest, man. And they're so freaking mean to Rachel Dratch, just leaving that camera on her with that horrible little trumpet sound. And it's like, y'all know that's not fair, because it's like, man, you just taking your time now because you are torturing her and you suck, man.
Yep. Man. My other thing that I did this week that just kind of broke down, just had to go see a movie, is I watched Shang-Chi.
Sweet, man.
And it's pretty much, it's this one and Eternals coming up. It's fun to go into some Marvel movies that I know very little of the character going in.
I totally agree.
You know, it's one of those deals where, hey, if you like the Marvel movies, they make, at least as far as the origin stories go, don't they keep making the same great movie? I'm there for it, and I dig it. So that's pretty much the long and short of that one that I can say is like, man, go check it out. You'll dig it.
That's cool, man. I'm good with them. Pardon me. I don't have a problem with them ticking boxes, because you're doing good stuff. It's cool. Like, excuse me. The example I always use is the Ramones, but I won't use the Ramones this time. The example I'll use this time is the Misfits. There are a lot of similarities among Misfits songs that I really, really like. I really, really like them, man. I don't care if it's the same song every time, man, with a different vocalist. Don't care. It's like, this is cool. And if Marvel, in their, like you said, in the origin stories, they can make the same movie. Because I know we talked about it, man. We're the two people on Earth that liked First Avenger. It was cool. There's nothing wrong with the First Avenger. There are a lot of people, to be fair to them, there are a lot of people that I think only assess First Avenger based off comparing it to Winter Soldier. So, man, I totally understand, because Captain America did go from about a 4 to about 1,000 from part 1 to part 2. So that's totally okay. I agree, and I understand where they're coming from. But yeah, man, it's all good. It's cool. I like Shang-Chi. I'm glad people are digging it. I'm glad it's doing so. I shouldn't even say that because it's Disney. Disney doesn't need shit to do well, but I don't care, man. Good for them. It's cool. That's cool.
Man, it's a cool one. It's a fun one to go watch.
Sweet, man. That's good. So
that's pretty much to me these days. That's probably the best review I can give. It's like, go watch it.
Yeah, man. I saw print materials for the first time the other day for Guardians 3. And I don't know, it's just one of those things that you definitely talk about it a lot. You've talked about it on here before, and I totally agree with you. It's just I want to give you credit for being there. That, man, the movies and the books are not the same thing. And so the way we veered off now and we're doing Thor as a Guardian of the Galaxy just because we want to, I love it. And I don't know if it's the poster for part 3, but it's the first poster concept or whatever. And he is right in the middle of it. He is like the center stage of the poster for Guardians of the Galaxy 3. And I love that. I was like, yeah, let's get it on, man. This is great. It's too cool. It's too cool, man. I said, anything to do with space, you want to merge space, magic, and gods, go right ahead, man, because you got Loki in the magic world, and you'll have Thor in the space. Let's do it. Right? It's great.
Yeah. And I guess one of the things I was kind of hoping would play before the movie, but it didn't. But the trailer for the Hawkeye show.
Yeah.
And man, talk about stuff that looks like a good time, man. I kind of like the idea. It's like, man, let's make it a kind of enjoyable.
the Hawkeye, seriously, just, I mean, with like, I don't want to say the casting, because I do like the casting, but it's the Matt Fraction book. That's what they're making. And dude, go right ahead, because it was fantastic. And that book was not always lighthearted, but a lot of it was. And so It's cool, man. I don't know if they'll do the Hawkeye dog storyline, because if they do, everyone will be like, oh, they're just ripping off John Wick. But who cares if you rip off John Wick? It was awesome, too.
Yeah, rip off something good.
But what they're, the source material, I don't want to say source material, inspiration. That's the word I'm looking for. The inspiration for the Hawkeye series, I'm like, that was it. Like, whenever they first started announcing all the stuff for Disney Plus, not to diss Loki, I really want to see Loki. I'm excited about it. But the two that I was the most excited about, obviously, WandaVision was one and Hawkeye was two. Because as soon as I found out they were doing Kate Bishop, I'm pretty sure is that character's name. Man, you find that out, and it's like, man, let's do it. That's great. That's going to be great. I'm curious to see how they do that. I'm curious because I think it'll be really fun. But considering that, I don't know. We'll see. I'm looking forward to it.
The thing I can't wait to see in the show is I'm sure somebody somewhere is probably going to film like the whole stage production version of it. But there's a little snippet of the trailer of the Steve Rogers on Broadway show.
Yes. Yes.
And it's the Steve Rogers story and all the Broadway style Avengers guys on stage. I want to see that so bad.
I love it. I think it's a great idea. I hope they get to it. As far as Hawkeye is concerned, man, I don't know. I don't have any idea of how to do it. I'm just excited to see how they do it. We talked about this when Age of Ultron came out, that the little middle section with the train car, I loved that because you had Wanda and you had Pietro and you had Clint and you had, pardon me, Captain America hanging out together. That's the Kooky Quartet, man. That was literally, if you read the old Avengers books, and I am sorry to bring up the books, but this was just cool because they're not doing the storylines. It's just fan service. For those of us that love the old shit, the second ever Avengers team, that's who it was. It was just the four of them because Fantastic Four was so hot at the time. Teams needed to be four people. That's what they were doing. So there you go. That was it. The Kooky Quartet. That was who it was. And it was great to see them on screen working together. And it's why, still, God, to this day, one of my favorite things in any of the Marvel movies is Hawkeye's pep talk to Wanda about, man, if this, I understand, man, this is heavy shit. So if you need to chill out, you just chill out. But I'm going through that door and I'll come back when I'm done. I'll come back for you. But if you follow me out the door, you're an Avenger, babe. And I just love that. I think that is so cool. The Hawkeye pep talk to Wanda. I'm just what I mean to get to is if we're getting to the multiverse where Wanda changes everything, I can't wait to see what happens to Hawkeye. Because Hawkeye's going to get hooked up. And I love it. I think that's super cool. But I love that. I thought that was really cool because, again, if you've read those old comics, man, Cap's the leader because Cap's the leader. But the Captain America Hawkeye dynamic in the early Avengers books is literally what Chris Claremont, John Byrne too. Byrne, it's kind of weird where, excuse me, I think a good documentary, that gum could be made between the parallels of Stan and Jack's Fantastic Four and John and Chris's X-Men, because Claremont's a great writer. Stan Lee was a very good writer, but Jack and John do not get nearly enough credit for the influence on they didn't just draw that shit. They were a lot more involved than just drawing it. So it's like, that's a kind of a cool parallel, cool idea. I haven't thought about that, but I like that. Anyway, just being cool enough to put Clint and Wanda in a situation, especially if you just love it, because I do love this shit. Love the Avengers. They've always been my favorite. Well, they were my favorite when I was a kid. The Fantastic Four have been my favorite for probably, how old am I now? Most of my adult life, my post-school life, the Fantastic Four are my favorite. But I still love the Avengers. I got lots of history with them, but Clint and Wanda are 1,000% intertwined characters just because of and it's cool. It's never romance, never. And I think that's so neat because you can do that if you want to. It's really good. Something like, dude, freaking Colossus and Shadowcat, dude. them loving each other is freaking awesome. So it's not that you can't do that, but it's neat that you don't always have to. It's great. But you have early days of the Avengers, West Coast Avengers. It's just cool. So I love the idea of, I don't know, if we're going to make, I'm hoping that they will make Wanda full on scary, fuck off badass. I'm hoping by killing Doctor Strange. And that sounds really mean, but that'd be dramatic as shit, man. If she's the one that kills Benedict, it's like, whoa, that would be a big deal, man.
Real talk.
Yeah, for real, man. But anyway, that was I guess what I'm trying to do is give Clint Barton something in the House of M like Steve got, because it was, pardon me, right. I probably told you this before. I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself. Right smack dab in the middle of it seems like it was Winter Soldier. It seems like it was that story arc, man, but right in the middle of it, man, was House of M. And so what Ed Brubaker was doing for Captain America, you just kind of take a time out, hit the pause button on that, and there's one issue that is the Steve Rogers tie into the House of M. And it's like, okay, we're doing House of M, and we're showing what's going on with everybody in this alternate reality that Wanda's created. And for Steve Rogers, it's not what they did in Endgame, but it's reminiscent of what they did in Endgame in the sense that Wanda wanted to give all the people that she cared about everything they had ever hoped for. It's the reason Magneto runs the planet, because it's his ultimate fantasy. It's the reason that Quicksilver is his right hand, because all he ever wanted was for his old man to love him. That's what she was trying to do. And so her ultimate thing with Steve, because again, people get mad when I talk about Steve Rogers, but I love Captain America. I think he's great. It's true. Steve Rogers, with all of it just makes me mad, I guess, because with Daenerys Targaryen, no, she's the breaker of chains. She freed the slaves. It's like they were trying to make her Captain America. Captain America in 1960, I want to say 4. Might have been earlier than that. Might have been later than that. I'm sorry. But we've talked about X-Men was an allegory on race relations. That's what it was about. The X-Men, the mutants, if you will, being outcast by society. That was black folks, man. That's what Stan and Jack were talking about. It was about the treatment of African Americans in the United States. And they carried that over to the Avengers when you had Wanda and Pietro, who were outcast and thrown aside, and they were bad guys and la-di-da. The whole point of the Kooky Quartet was it was Captain America saying, I want the mutants and I want the criminal, because Hawkeye was introduced as a bad guy in Avengers. We're gonna make this work, man. We can. It's okay. Just don't, let's not be so negative with each other, man, and don't be so untrusting and hateful. Things will be great. Wanda never forgot that shit, man. Like, it's mean, but I say it to people all the time. And for the movie versions, at least, Wanda's got a lot of resentment for Tony built up. Steve's the complete opposite. I'm Team Steve anyway, man. Now Wanda is too, so I guess it'll never be cool to be Team Captain America, but by God, Wanda is, so that's okay. But there was a point in there somewhere. I don't know what the hell it was. But anyway, considering that the mutant characters were representing African Americans, and in 65, 66 maybe, you had 2 mutants join the Avengers because Captain America handpicked them. Dude, that was a statement. Stan and Jack were making a statement, and it's cool as hell. That was awesome. So I always loved that.
Man, but I think that's freaking cool as hell.
I love stuff like that, and I like that they got that little. Anyway, I got way sidetracked, but the point was, anytime Wanda does anything with any of those other 3 characters, I love. And I do absolutely love the idea of blurring Pietro with, like I said, man, when you watch WandaVision and you see the kid from the Fox movies playing him, could be nothing. Could be monstrous. Could be massive. Because I just love the idea of you replacing the casting. She doesn't notice. That's huge. I just think that you don't have to do anything with it. But if they decide to do something with it, you could just do something amazing. I love it. It's so much fun, man. And anyway, I'm going back to old shit. I'm sorry, man. But I'm very glad that Shang-Chi is good, because I wanted to be good. I'm with you. I don't know anything about the character, but kind of to your point, the last time I went into a Marvel movie not really knowing anything about the characters, it was Guardians of the Galaxy, and that's my favorite. So you're totally right that if you just go in with something, I'm going to go watch this movie, no check marks, no boxes to tick, none of that, it can be just wonderful. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I thought it was tons good, and I just had a good time watching it. Just maybe it's not even that I'm that starved for it, because I've had plenty of there's been plenty of good Marvel stuff on Disney Plus, and I dug Black Widow, but man, this was just one of those that man, it was just a fun one to go sit down and chill with.
That's a really good point, man. That's real good, because it's all like, oh my God, finally a comic book movie, but it's not that. Damn, that's cool. That's really cool, man.
Yeah. And there's tie-ins to some of the other stuff, but it can kind of stand alone on its own if it needs to.
It's strange, like going back to the point you were making about, I'm going to say formula, but I don't mean it in a bad way. But the trajectory, that's the word I'll use, for the Disney origin stories. It's weird how so many of them do that. They're so deft and so good at, yeah, it'll tie in, but it's not necessary. Like, damn, go on, y'all. That's cool.
Yeah. I bet the only thing that will be kind of, what the heck's that, is it's not much of a spoiler now, because I'd heard the rumors about it, but and now there's a trailer out that's run on TV that has the Ben Kingsley character from Iron Man, and it's like, oh man, I wish I would have kind of held that back just a few more weeks, but they tie him into the story. That's probably the only part of the movie, if you hadn't seen Iron Man 3, you'd be kind of like, what the heck is that? But it's very easily, they explain it very well.
That's
as
cool.
far as why he's there, and how that was that was bullshit, and we're trying to fix it.
I like the idea of like watching it, Ben Kingsley show, like, what the hell? And like 4 minutes later, oh, okay, yeah. I like that.
I like it.
That's cool, man.
They give him a cool little pet like cord that he's like, well, now I love this guy. Now I have to love him.
He's a good guy now.
Okay. Right on.
I'm good. I can get down with that.
Yeah. How'd he get here? Who cares? but man, if there was a little bit of a dud from Marvel this week for me when this last episode of What If that dropped was I remember, see if I can remember the exact title, but it's what if Killmonger had rescued Tony Stark, which sounds like that could be something interesting, but then the episode plays out and you're kind of like, I just did not like it at all. But it's of all the stuff that I've enjoyed this week, I think that's the one thing, like, okay, something can be bad, and because I always I dug that character in Black Panther, but the way they kind of try to tie him into the first Iron Man movie is kind of like, so is he a time traveler? I know it's what if, so it's kind of like we can do whatever we want to, but it's like, if he was Killmonger in the timeline when the first Iron Man was going on, he should be, is he even 18? So like 18 or 20, 18, 19, something like that. So this really didn't make a whole lot of sense. And what ends up playing out, you're like, now this really doesn't make sense. But I just did not follow it at all. It's like, it was one of those, for the most part, the what ifs and what they've done to try to make the story different from what we saw in the movies. Like, okay, I may not like it, but it's like, okay, fine. That kind of makes sense. But this one was one of those, like, I don't get it. I don't like it. So
Marvel has gone from what if to whatever, mother.
Yeah. So it just didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I was like,
look of sense.
Yeah, at least I always go back to the T'Challa being Star-Lord's story. And the thing I like the most about it is you get to see how it affected some of the other characters in that universe. That's kind of neat. This one is kind of like, I was thinking we'll get some of that, and like we really didn't. So I was like, man, this. I just kind of was left at the end of it, like, what was the point of all of that? So anyway, that was a bit of a dud. But the other ground shaking episode that dropped was the Dark Side of the Ring is back this week, and good God Almighty, the episode that they kicked off the part 2 of season 3 was the plane ride from hell. And so now everybody, and with what happens and what comes out of the story, years after the fact, we now hate the whole world is supposed to hate and cancel Ric Flair, but for some reason Tommy Dreamer's in trouble, and everybody's supposed to hate him. And watching the episode, and it in real time, live feed. I was there to watch it, and I told myself I was going to go back and watch it today, but I lost track of time and just didn't have time to get it done. But in real time, hearing some of the stuff that Tommy Dreamer said, I was like, I don't know, that's a little tone deaf, bro. I don't know if you really meant that to sound the way it did, but it's a little bit of victim shaming that he does, but it's out of the like what we're talking about. He's trying to. He's like, I guess in the episode he's playing the audience, and I just don't want to believe that Rick did what he's accused of doing on this flight. But at the same time, it's not that hard to believe. But so you have that going for him, and what he says sounds like he is trying to justify what Rick had done. But there's a flight attendant that sits down and does an interview with him, and her name's Heidi Doyle, and it's years after the fact, and she's saying that Rick came up to me, exposes himself, tries to make me touch him, and he's like, Ric Flair would never have to do that. And like, I don't know, Rick's been pretty upfront, and he puts the spin on a lot of his transgressions as being consensual. They couldn't have all been. Is I guess what makes me feel kind of bad about the story. But to Heidi Doyle's credit, the one thing that she does say, she does give credit to Dustin Rhodes, because he was the one guy on the plane that stood up and stopped it. He said, "No, this has gone far enough. Rick, sit your old ass down. You go here, you go there." But at the same time, she just kind of give Dustin some shit, because apparently it's a long flight. He gets a few too many in him too, but Dustin didn't, force himself on anybody. He just stole his microphone and started singing David Allan Coe love songs to Terry, who's on the plane. So, but at the same time, another person who is totally getting a pass from this episode is they sit down and they interviewed Terry Reynolds, who was on the plane, and she totally, she's not victim shaming, but she is not very sympathetic. And the fact that we're supposed to believe every woman who says this stuff happened, she has a line in the in the episode that totally gets overlooked, when she said something to the effect of like, if I sued a company for every time I was gawked at or touched or something like that, I'll never, be out of court, or something to that effect. That's not an exact quote, but she says something along those lines of like, where's the hate coming Terry's way? Because she's not very. It came off, even watching the episode too. That's another quote. I was like, God damn, that's just not. But I guess the long and short of it is, the flight attendant Heidi Doyle, and I think another because the other thing that Tommy Dreamer is getting, a lot of flack about is one of the quotes he did say is like, well, instead of taking hush money, maybe you should have made sure that this terrible person was brought to the authorities. It says something to that effect. And, it's another one of those kind of quotes like, oh God. But it just makes me wonder, because the lady did, and she brings it up, and she says it in her interview, says it's another part of having to go through something like that makes the victim feel even worse, because I took hush money. Here's your money. Shut up and go away. But I don't know if every settlement like that comes with these stipulations, or if there's statutes of limitations. But I thought if you take money like that, part of what you're agreeing to is I can't talk about this. Are there statutes of limitations on money like that? Are there so many years that you have before you can do it? I don't know. So it makes me wonder, anytime anybody goes on these interview shows 8 years after the fact, like what kind of legal problems could she face if she, has a confidentiality clause where she can't discuss it? I don't know, but I guess it's worth it to her to like, no, this, story needs to be told. So that's all I really know what to say.
I haven't seen the episode yet. I've just seen the tweets making the rounds. And the first thing, I think, there's several things. The first thing is, as far as like hush money and shut up and be quiet and stuff like that, all I can figure is that, think about like copyrights. You get a copyright on something, you got 7 years. It's not forever. It's not for fucking ever. You can buy somebody's silence, but for the rest of their life, I just don't think that's possible. You will find a lawyer somewhere that will legalese their way around that. And if Dark Side of the Ring is going to offer you more money, you take it. No problem. That's the first thing I think of. My second thing I think of, you're telling me that Ric Flair's a piece of shit around women? That's not hard to believe. No. You're telling me that Ric Flair, and again, this isn't forcing himself, but shoving your cock on somebody when they don't, just, like, even like subway stuff, like the famous thing where people like leer on the subway and lean in. Fuck you, man. You're wrong for that shit. So again, I want to say, Ric Flair didn't force himself on anybody. That's not what we're talking about. Not about raping somebody. He'd be in fucking jail for that, and he should be. Mm-hmm. But sexual assault is different from that. That's the reason that sexual assault is one thing and rape is another in the eye of the law. They're different. This is gross. My third thing, and this is this. Where does Ric Flair work now? Does he work for WWE anymore? No? Well, why do you think that is? Because they got an advanced copy of this and they know it's true. No offense to Rick. I love Rick dearly. I tend to part company on Rick when it comes to anything to do with women, especially the ones he's married to, but he don't have to be. He fucking did it. They know he did it, and this was going to come out, and they were like, there's the fucking door, and it's exactly what they should have done. So there's that, and if you want to know why Tommy Dreamer's taking shit, it's because he still has an association with them, and we love to bury WWE any chance we get, and I hate those guys too, but that's why Tommy's taking shit, because that's why he went on camera, and we'll talk about it. On Terry Runnels, the whole, well, if I sued somebody for every time I was assaulted, I think the reason she's probably not catching shit for that, and this is just my opinion and conversations I've had, I do not know a single woman that I've ever had conversations, I shouldn't say single woman, individual, not single, because single is, people are going to think people aren't going to think it. I don't want people to think I mean relationship status. I don't know an individual woman I've ever had a conversation with about sexual assault, about leering, about catcalling, about bullshit, inappropriate fill in the blank that doesn't have multiple stories. So if they're not giving Terry shit, it's probably because there's a lot of people that understand that see themselves in that, hear themselves in that. It's all good. But yeah, the whole thing is, man, Flair's a jerk. He was, yeah. And that's the whole thing about, Flair showed up and he had his robe on and he didn't have nothing on under it. It's like, yeah, I've heard that story for years. And so now if one of the flight attendants is saying, yeah, that guy stuck his cock way too close to me, get the fuck away from me. Yeah, I totally believe her. Why wouldn't I?
Yeah.
Again, it goes back to my thing. I love Rick dearly as a performer, but it's shitty. Might not always be true, but I can damn sure tell you as an individual, I'm never going to trust him. Why would I? Why in the world would I not believe anybody that has something to say like, yeah, Ric Flair's kind of a gross old man, and this is what he did? Of course, I'm going to believe you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna believe you. It sucks, but again, because I haven't even watched the episode. Well, I haven't seen the episode yet. I haven't sought it out. But
And it's
hey,
and it's addressed in the episode when much of what happened on that flight, we kind of heard some of the stories that come out. This was I guess when talking about lawsuits and shit, this was the stuff that really got revealed. It's like, whoa, this is a lot worse than what anybody thought. And it's addressed because one of the people they talked to is Jim Ross. And I think if it's not his first quote in the show, it's early on. He's like, I'm so sick of talking about this damn shit. he doesn't say it does that words, but essentially that's the gist of it, because what the show is building up to is that plane lands and Scott Hall's fired for, you know, a similar act that Rick had done, and Kurt Henning's fired, and Jim Ross is telling the story like, why wasn't Rick fired? Because Rick was a made guy at the time, and I think in him saying that, he probably feels a little bit of the guilt of like, well, what could, you know, it should have happened, it just didn't.
it's the same reason that you still hear anytime the name Tessa Blanchard is uttered, what's brought up immediately after that? She said the N word, and I'm not saying she didn't. She probably did. My thing with Tessa is this: Tessa Blanchard is being presented, not even presented, because I think she is a piece of shit. And I'm talking about like backstage nightmare, bully, racist. You can talk all that shit. I have no problem believing any of it. But the fact of the matter is this: she is being kept radioactive in the hopes that AEW will sign her, which they won't, because they won't touch anybody like that. But Vince will sign her in a second. It's just that as long as she's radioactive, he can get her cheap. It goes back to exactly the point I made earlier about what cancel culture actually is. Cancel culture is corporate horseshit 101, particularly in that it's packaged and bowed as this, oh, it's liberal do-goodery. Anything that people try to convince you is all wacky liberalism. Oh my God, bullshit. It's not. It's the complete opposite. And I don't mean politically, because it's not the right wing either. It's corporations that actually run both sides and make us think that the left and the right are different. They're not, because when's the last time anybody cut a law that didn't benefit corporate America? The answer is before either one of us were fucking born. Because 78 was the end. 1978, when the Supreme Court said, corporations can give money to politicians. What are you talking about? That was the end of it. That was the end of America. It was over. Well, man, the bicentennial. I really hope you enjoyed that shit, because you had 2 more years before we fucking died. Anyway, I believe all that stuff. I guess because I'm a wrestling fan, I'm supposed to defend Rick. I won't. Rick's a piece of shit. I love Rick very, very dearly. But when it comes to, like we said, we talked about it before, man, with all of his horseshit car insurance commercials and junk like that now.
Those are gone. Those will be gone.
Brother.
Yeah.
Brother. Listen, if you were going to fuck everything that moves, you're going to catch some heat for that. If you're going to be goddamn dumb enough to marry somebody and then continue to fuck everything that moves, when, not if, when she takes you to the cleaners, please don't bitch about it as much as you bitch about it.
Yeah.
You're a fucking idiot. You're Ric Flair. If cheating is a when, not if situation, your wife catching you is a when, not if situation too, you dumb shit. And when she cleans you out and you have to, I gotta go back to wrestling because I need money to pay off my ex-wife. Well, that was your fucking fault, wasn't it, you dumb shit? Yeah. Well, you know, cheating's not against the law. Yeah, but marriage is a contract and you broke it. So now you're going to be paying, you stupid cocksucking whiny ass piece of shit. Oh, I hate that stuff, man. It's just, that's so annoying, man.
If you don't want to be faithful, don't get married.
Don't get married. For God's sake, if you're going to get married and you know you're going to fuck every, I just, again, don't bitch about it. It's your stupid ass making the decisions. God, fuck you, man.
If having a daughter didn't make you not want to assault women, then God help you.
If it takes having a daughter for you not to want to assault women, God help. That's what I hate about fucking. Here I go off on another little tangent.
It didn't work for him.
Didn't work. Doesn't work. It doesn't work
Yeah.
anyway. It only works in
Yeah.
sitcoms. It only works for
Yeah.
Barney What's His Nuts from fucking. Oh my God, I've been so wrong to women. Now I have this daughter that I have to protect. I hate that bullshit. That is sitcom 101 horse shit. I can't stand it. God, I hate stuff like that. Things like that make me nanners. But yeah, it's weird because I've been talking about. I've gotten a couple of messages to my wrestling people like, "What do you think about your boy Rick?" And I'm like, "What, being a piece of shit with women? If it surprises you, I'm surprised it surprises you because he is." So you think you believe that woman? Yeah. Why the fuck wouldn't I? There are the woman telling
when it was on ESPN, he was telling these stories with glee and a chuckle.
And that's my point. He was getting a paycheck from Disney then, so it's okay. He was getting a paycheck from Vince then, so it's okay. But Vince, looking to clear the books and knowing that it's smart to get out from underneath this before that episode airs. There's a reason Flair got cut when he did, and all this shit works hand in glove. And really, honestly, I trash Vince all the time. The statement I just made was a trash on Vince, but that's a good decision. Fuck that guy. But if you want to know why he hadn't been signed to AEW yet, well, there you go.
There we have it.
There you go.
Makes a lot more sense.
Oh, fuck that guy, man. They don't need him anyway, but it's just like, I appreciate that you release him in the hopes that Tony Khan is going to sign him, because then wrestling internet people will do your bidding and try to, because anything Tony Khan does, people are going to fucking jump on, which is hilarious because he's not a threat and he's not competition and it's not a big deal. Yeah, but boy, y'all are just really hoping that he gets a swipe taken out of him. Because when's the last time it happened? Oh, he overhyped the signing of Christian. Christian's really not that big of a deal. People are still whining about that shit. Let me ask you this. How long ago was that? Still bitching about Miro. Miro was brought in terribly. It was so stupid for him to be brought in as the best man. How long ago was that? 6 months? Christian came in, what, 5-6 months ago? Maybe less than that. But my point is, what the fuck was going on in WWE 6 months ago? No goddamn body knows. No one remembers. No one could tell you. That's my point, is you got to go back to 6 months and keep talking about it because these boys are whipping your ass. They are. It's just like, it's hard to explain, but I'll try to do it this way. Looking at WWE and AEW as the same thing is the wrong way to look at it. They are the same thing in that, well, they're both wrestling. Yeah, well, Celine Dion and the Deftones are both music. But they are not the same. Success for them is not the same. I'm sure there's plenty of people that like both of them, but the success is not the same. The Deftones selling a certain number of records. If Celine Dion sold that number of records, that's abject failure for her. Yeah. You see what I mean? Yeah. It's like WWE is pop music, and that's totally okay that it's pop music, but fuck, man. This idea that everything has to be number one on the Billboard charts in order to be successful is horseshit. Is how many songs has Tool ever had in the top 40? 0. But who's Tool? Well, you'll find a hell of a lot more people that know the answer to that than don't. So that's my point. I get tired of the comparison and the endless horseshit, but I'm the one doing it now, or at least bringing them both up in the same breath. Excuse me. I guess my main thing with the plane ride from hell is tell the story if you got to. I'm good with that. But it just feels like one of those stretches of like, well, do you still believe women now? Because now it's Ric Flair. And I'm like, fuck yeah, I believe her and anybody else that comes forward, because Flair's a piece of shit. I love the guy as a performer, as a worker. I love him. But he's a dick. And especially, Jesus Christ, especially when it comes to his relationships with the lady folk, because he's a dick and he always has been. So hell yeah, man. Just like, yeah, I'm sure she's telling the truth. I have no doubt whatsoever that she's telling you the truth, man.
Yeah, man, that's pretty much when it came to the show, that was one of those kind of episodes that I'm it's on, I kind of half paying attention to it because that's kind of how it felt going. It's like, I know most of this stuff. I mean, what is Just Incredible really going to tell me? shed light onto the plane ride story, but it's just, man, it's just one of those episodes. Like, man, that I'm just hoping good to come from it.
It's something we've talked about before, man, where when you call your series The Dark Side of the Ring, what's going to happen is eventually you're going to check off all the big tragedies in wrestling history, and then what you're going to have to do is take stories and create villains, which the Brian Pillman story is a story, but you had to create Melanie. The Randy Savage story, they had to make Randy the villain. Plain right from hell, Ric Flair. They have to, and I shouldn't even say it that way because Flair is the bad guy. But that's what they're doing now. That's all the show is now. It's like, you've heard this story before, but what a jerk that Jacques Rougeau is. That's all they got. And I hate it because I like those guys and I like the show. But you really, really pigeonholed yourself when you decided, yes, we're going to give you shocking Jerry Springer-like content 12 times a year forever. You're going to run out of shit. And you got to start making stuff up and you got to make it salacious. So I hope they got a good little plane ride from hell, but hey, whatever, man. It's all good. And as far as, I don't know, Flair fans defending him and shit like that, I love Rick. I'm as big a Flair fan as there is, and I'd have no energy for it. So if everybody else that likes Rick feels the way I do, man, I understand that too. Fuck that dude. And it sucks because one of the things about Rick, one of the biggest chinks in the Flair armor, in my opinion, you talked earlier about, well, if you have a daughter and you're still not, and he's got multiple daughters, he's got the famous one that wrestles, but I think he's got 3. And you're right. But going back to I think it was the High Spots interview when he's talking about the kids. And this is when she was still Ashley. This is before she was Charlotte. And it's all like, my daughter Ashley, she comes to me and she's like, you didn't care about me until I started playing volleyball. And it's like, yeah, there's probably some fucking truth to that. Yeah. He's like, no. I said, oh. No, I have no problem believing her that until she became, and like we said, man, Charlotte Flair was a D1 volleyball player. He had a D1 scholarship at any school in this country for any sport. You are bad as shit. Simple as that. Division I athletes, that is a big, big, big deal. Just think about, all of us went to high school. Think about big man on campus, Johnny football player that you went to school with. Did they get a D1 scholarship? Because in most people's cases, the answer is hell no. Yeah. So it's like, okay, if who was the best in the whole wide universe in the school you went to couldn't get a sniff, how good do you have to be? And that's every sport. It's amazing.
If they did, they went and crapped out and were back in a semester.
Dude, there's one guy. Oh my God, what is wrong with me, man? I can't believe it. Our hometown has, well, there's a couple now, but our hometown had a wonderful success story, and I can't believe I forgot who it is. I'm very sorry. It just shot right out of my head, man. But one of our kids went to Georgia to play offensive line. It was great. It was great. I can't believe I forgot who I'm trying to think of.
Is it Ogletree?
No. This was... I'm sorry. I know I should know. It's shot right out of my doggone head, man. But anyway, then the other, of course, is Jay Crowder. Because Jay, Jay just kept on a rolling, man. But I can't believe I forgot who that is. What is Tim Shackelford? That's who it is.
That's what I was going for.
Timmy Shackelford went to the University of Georgia to play offensive line, and he was fantastic. Oh, Tavares Pounds. He's the other one. Tavares went to Auburn and was Brandon Talbert. Brandon Talbot went to Georgia. He was great. So I guess that's a bad example because here we go, just one after the other. But all of those guys were real good. They all played really well. Dude, Tavares, I think, played for the Panthers for a little while. So it's like not just D1. He was, NFL talent. Like, Jesus Christ. But anyway, there's something about him telling that story, and I'm sure I'm reading too much into it, but you can just tell how guilty he feels, if nothing else. And I think what he's guilty about is it's like, damn, you figured that out? Mm-hmm. Could be totally wrong. And this is years ago, but I remember watching that interview, and it's just like, oh, man. And then a handful of years after that, Ashley Fleer becomes Charlotte Flair, and it's like, oh, crap, that's who he was talking about. It sucks, man.
Yeah, man, that's it. That's all. Pretty much all I know what's going on in the world right now.
The only other thing, and then it's wrestling related, but we were talking about the Grand Slam
yeah.
match card, and I haven't seen the whole thing yet. But the stuff I've seen,
pay-per-view level.
Every time they do one of their special Dynamite episodes, it pretty much is. It's fascinating. But Omega Danielson, awesome.
Yeah.
Let's do it. That's cool. The one
Ruby Soho and Britt Baker.
That's the one that I just can't figure out where they're. I love it. I love that they're doing it. And I mean, obviously, with Ruby winning the Battle Royal, we knew they were going to do it. But it's just like, the night Ruby won, it's like, this is awesome. I don't know what they're going to do. And then you see them on the little placard next to each other, and I'm like, I don't know what they're going to do. I love it. I love it, but I'm totally mystified. Ooh, speaking of Ruby, apparently she was on the last Jericho. I haven't listened.
It's good. It's good.
Oh, I haven't checked it out yet. I saw her post. It was just like them backstage, like doing the thing. And it was her promoting that she was on the show, but I hadn't listened yet. That's awesome. I'm glad you dug it.
I haven't listened to a Jericho show in several weeks. Most of the ones that come through, I'm like, that's not for me. That's not for me.
I can dig.
This one, I was like, yeah, today.
Totally understand that. Totally understand that, man. It's like you don't even get to the last name. Ruby, you don't even get to the last name before you press play. But yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because that was the one I was going to go to too. Is like, yeah, that's the championship match that's a non-title match, but the championship match that's title is I have no idea what they're going to do. All I can figure, I can't imagine them taking the belt off Brit. I think Brit's just going to have to screw Ruby over like some serious cruddy way. We'll see though, but it's exciting. And I think one thing I really like about it is like we've talked about, they put Dr. Brit in the ring with Thunder Rosa, and it was legendary. And then they had Dr. Brit and Chris Statlander, and I know we loved that. That was awesome. But if you put Brit in there, or not, if you continue to put Brit in the ring with like Thunder Rosa, just veterans, people that really get it, man, Ruby Soho is the perfect choice for that. So I just think they're going to burn the sucker to the ground. I love it. I love the idea. Again, I don't know how they're going to finish it up, but I'm glad they're doing it. Very exciting. Speaking of which, I saw a really cool picture of I don't know if this was the Battle Royal or not, but it was Ruby walking to the ring, and she's got her cool jacket on. I'm checking out as many patches as I can, and she's got a patch on her arm about right there that is every punk rock band that I know anything about comes from our friend Danielle. Danielle knows more about punk rock music than any three people I know combined. It's awesome. And it's a band called The Addicts. And I'd never heard of them before. It's ADDICTS, Addicts. And it's kind of like Clockwork Orange themed. It'll make you think of Danhausen if you look at the guy that sings for him now, but they're great. They're so good. And I happened to see a little Addicts patch on her jacket, and I jumped off the sofa because I was so excited, man. Anyway, I got sidetracked. I'm sorry. I don't remember the other match except for the other match, so I guess I'll just go to the other match, and it ties into your T-shirt. Sting and Darby versus the Revival or FTR, whatever you want to call them. I really think that's going to be great. I know what it was. It was Cody and Malachi. Anyway, tag match. Yeah. I guess this is just the show where I want people to smear other people, except Ruby and Brit. I want that to be competitive. But I think FTR beating the absolute piss out of Sting and Darby is a good idea. I hope that's the idea. But we talked about it, man, like in the jump in. And if you guys watched the show, because I didn't, I apologize. I'm just doing this off of clips I saw. But if I saw it correctly, I didn't see anything on Cash Wheeler's arm, like anything protective, bandage. I know he wrestles in the sleeve, but that's okay. That's not what I mean. But it just, man, if he's made that much progress already, holy crap, is that a relief, man? That is so cool. And so I hope I'm not wrong, but I don't think he had anything on like, man, let's go. It'd be all good. I hope so anyway. But I think that match is going to be awesome, mainly because it's the freaking Revival. Those guys are amazing. Darby can do Darby's thing with him. It's fascinating. I think Darby Allin, in this one regard, modern Jeff Hardy, you hear that a lot. Boy, I agree. I mean, I definitely agree. But I think I was going to say Rob Van Dam, but the difference is that Rob Van Dam, if his style worked with you, the match was awesome. And if it didn't, it didn't. Jeff Hardy, I've never seen Jeff Hardy have a match I didn't like. He's just good. He's weird, but he's good. Darby's the same way. It's totally strange. His style is nuts. But I like his stuff, man. So I'm like, well, that'll be good. But holy crap, dude. Sting with two. I mean, it's basically Sting and Arn and Tully. That crap is going to be incredible. I can't wait to see what they come up with, man. Like, dude, this is going to be awesome.
Heck yeah. It's going to be a good one, man.
Yeah, brother. And then,
I'm ready for it.
Malachi and Cody. I think Malachi's going to kill him again. I really do. I can't imagine they go any other direction than that.
I just don't think it would make sense to do it that way.
I'm the same way. I don't understand why people are so goddamn afraid of, oh, Cody's going to get his win back. I don't. But at the same time, people were, the first time Cody and Malachi wrestled, oh, here we go. Here we go, Cody, get out the shovel. He's going to bury him. I don't know where the shit that's coming from. I know there's a lot of people like Brian Last. Sorry, Brian, but I'm going to call you on the carpet, who are in love with Brandy Rhodes, and therefore they can't. It's weird. So many people love Brandy Rhodes, and therefore they hate her husband. But there's 1,000 people that love Renee Paquette, but they basically suck her husband's dick. It's like, that's weird. I don't understand, man. Anyhow, none of that stuff really matters. But I would be shocked if Cody Rhodes won that match. Absolutely shocked. And I mean, like, I would really actually be very surprised if it's even competitive.
I think Cody had his moment this past Wednesday. He showed up and gave him for on his return, and I think that's all he's going to get.
If Cody left him laying or ran him out of the ring on the Dynamite episode, then of course Malachi's going over. My God, man, I don't understand. I don't get it, man. But anyway, a lot of that, oh, it's Triple H. He's like Triple H. He's doing the Triple H thing. You know, Triple H, what do you mean Triple H? Where he shows up and always gets the last word in the promos and beats the guy up and then beats the guy up and then beats the guy up and then goes to the pay-per-view and wins? Because that sounds a shit ton more like Cena to me than it does Triple H. Yeah. But I love John Cena. I know you do. That's how come you use Triple H as your scapegoat, you fucking child. Anyway, I really hope Malachi wins. I'd be shocked if he didn't.
Yeah. I'm with you.
Yeah, man. I think that was it. I think that was all the matches I wanted to talk about on there, man.
Heck yeah, man.
That's what we do. Good show. Thank you for the call, man.
That's all good, man. That's what's up, y'all.
Hell yeah. Take it easy, y'all. Thank you for watching.
I'll see you. Bye.